So I guess that's what God thought about that book, eh?
Yeah, exactly right. It got rained on last night.
That's God's review of the
And
book.
blew it into some dirt.
And
stuff
I'm going to
like
talk
that.
a little bit about that. Yeah, God not only put a whole lot of rain and thunder and lightning and everything on it, but
Yeah.
um,
It was it
Then-
was pretty shocking, really, for an October here. I
Yeah.
think it's October by now,
Yeah.
and
who would have thought?
I did as soon as I was coming out
Oh,
last night. I was going, well, I'm going to get rained on, and then I'm going, yeah. I looked up in the north. I could see some stuff was coming in. I couldn't see clearly because it was night. And then I saw a flash of lightning. Didn't hear any thunder, but I'm going, yeah, I'm not walking.
yeah. So
Could have
anyway.
used an umbrella. There was one in the car, but that's just like inviting the elements to use as a lightning rod.
But I can't imagine that book is going to make it after that. That was some serious rain. And
It will make it if with my ministrations. I know how to drain books out like this.
But is it worth it?
It is actually.
Anyway, Last Man Standing. I'm going through it right now. This is volume 2, a 12-disc box set of Last Man Standing. And I think it started season 5? Yeah. So, anyway, I'm now on season 6. But, yeah, there's been some cute episodes so far. I liked the bear episode. That was very, very nice. Reba McEntire was in one of them, which was fun. But anyway, enough from me. James going to talk about God is Not Great.
Last book standing.
Yeah. Well, I guess who can say? And they made a joke in this one. The boss of Outdoor Man was, or owner of Outdoor Man was saying.
Oh, is that the Tim Allen show then?
Yes.
Oh, really?
The owner of the store was saying he had a kind of like a bomb shelter or whatever, and he said he has a copy of the Bible in it and a copy of the Quran, because he says he doesn't know exactly where this thing's going to go. So, but yeah, so who knows which will be the last book standing.
Yeah. Anyway, Christopher Hitchens is not the last man standing because he died.
Oh, did he?
For a long time now.
Oh, really?
I think he came down with cancer. Died pretty well
happens.
when I was coming down with cancer.
Yep.
Lasted a bit better than him.
Yep.
I don't think he made it as many years as I have. I think he was born 1949, and
that book is in such bad shape. I wouldn't bother trying to save that one. That's so soaked. It's incredible.
I'll do it as practice.
Okay.
If it doesn't work out, I'm not going to be terribly heartbroken.
All right.
It's practice because it's going to happen at books, and you might as well learn how to do it.
Why don't you tell them how?
Okay, I'll show them. Of course, it's tougher with paperbacks. To see, like the inside is really not that wet. This page, it's like just the perimeter that's wet. Interestingly enough, it's on the inside. It's wet too, inside margin. More wet than the outside. Anyway, I'm going to try to find out not an autobiography, but a biography of Christopher Hitchens. Hitchens, is that his name? Christopher Hitchens, born 1949, and I think he died 2011. Let's see what happened. So this thing was put out 2007, I believe. When did he die? He died December 2011, at the age of 62. So he didn't make it as far as I have so far. Still counting. And I've made it to 70 and I think a half. June, July, August, September, October, almost a half. Never thought I'd do that. They were telling me I had 18 months to live, and that was over 13 years ago. Anyway, where did I get up to?
So the potatoes, it's fried potatoes, so you boil the potatoes first and then wait till they cool and then fry them up with some, today was carrot, celery, and garlic, and salt. That's it.
So, yeah, the water has kind of made it so it's hard for me to read the underlining and the starring that I did.
I guess it would be.
I got up to Calvinist. Oh yeah, Fidel Castro. He actually doesn't have good things to say about Fidel Castro, or a good thing, because it's only one mention he should really mention, because he's a former, I think he would claim to be a Marxist, but I think he might actually be honest and say he was a communist. Anyway, I'm sure he was part of the 60s group of flunkies who were like Tom Hayden was a Maoist in the 60s. There were a variety of them. A lot of them were anarchists and stuff like that. But anarchism doesn't work. Anarchists always, I don't know what it is, they're involved with Antifa right now with the commies, maybe some other scumbugs. And they always collaborate with the commies, and then when the commies get in power, they get whacked, because they've got all they believe in is terrorism, right? They try to, I think, focus the terrorism on people that they think are powerful and stuff like that, and rich. But they're absolutely useless. When you're dealing with the commies, you better hang together. You're going to hang separately. You might not even make it to be hung. You might get just a bullet in the back of the head or back of the neck, or wherever the commies like doing it. Like sometimes they like doing these things in secret. Sometimes they have big show trials and so on and so forth. Who knows how the show trials? I forgot.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you talked about Hitchens dying of cancer.
Hitchens.
And there's or what's his name?
Christopher Hitchens, yeah.
Hitchens, okay. Yeah. Dying of cancer. And I mean, people have, you've probably heard people talking about how, have they, have people been inducing cancers in people or whatever. It's what with the whole, like you say, bullet in the back of the head or whatever, but I mean, it hasn't been stuff like that. It's been stuff like, what was that, polymonium or something?
Polonium.
Polonium?
Yeah. It's named after Poland, right? Where,
interesting.
Where they call her Madame Curie, but Marie Curie, I think was her first name, Marie.
So there was almost some sort of artistry involved with that.
Well, that one, the Russians
sort of
were
poetic.
doing it. I'm going to call them the commies, latter-day commies, under Putin. I think that was what they used to kill. It was a radioactive substance to kill a dissident. Interesting enough, I hadn't realized that he was actually a Muslim convert. I think he's Russian.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so that made him doubly.
Do you feel bad that you don't have somebody to correspond with here that actually knows what you're talking about or knows anything about stuff like that?
Well, it's, I mean, I've mentioned doing the work for someone. I asked them, it's up to them. They lied to me. For a management arts thesis. So that's a master's, MBA equivalent. And I've been asked to do an education presentation at a university, and a presentation and present a paper. That's education. Theoretically, that's the equivalent of a PhD. I've been told by one discipline, by two people in that discipline who have PhDs, I'm one of them. And one of them said I should be teaching a course.
Okay, but that doesn't answer my question at all.
Well, who knows as much as I do?
Yeah, but you could have somebody who actually knows what polonium is.
Yeah, but then would they know anything else?
It doesn't matter. There'd
Well,
be better banter between.
I'd have to have a different person every day. And this could go
Yeah.
on for half of a month, and then I'd have to rotate.
Okay.
So when I talk poetry now, you know better than probably anyone in the world right now, writing English poetry, really how to do it,
Thanks.
right? Well, I shouldn't say right, but that's just the way it is. So how about hiking in Waterton? Who would I get?
Oh, well, there's lots of people that would know a lot more than I would.
Combined?
Mhm.
Like you've hit a lot of pathways. How many people?
Yeah, I know. Somebody was. I was walking with somebody recently,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Have you hiked every trail in Waterton?" I said, "No, I
Which ones
have."
do you miss?
I said I've hiked parts of Tamarack Trail, but I haven't hiked the whole thing because that would take more
Eventually,
than one day. and I
yeah.
haven't
Eventually,
booked
we
it
will
right.
do maybe 2/3 cumulative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
So we'll
there's-
miss out the middle 1/3. So it goes.
yeah.
We'll take 1/3 one way.
And
One third
I
the
said there's
We've
the
already done 1/3.
like I explained where the trail was, but Boundary Trail goes
Well,
into the United States, so
well, that's
we
not
haven't done
Waterton.
that. Yeah,
You only
And-
missed on Boundary Trail like a half of a switchback going
And-
down.
we haven't done Goat Hunt because you need a passport for that one too.
Well, again, that's half in the United States, but you've done part of it because
yeah,
part
but I
of it
haven't
is
done
that
every
trail
trail
going down to
because I
Bertha.
haven't. I've only done parts. So.
But really, that's only like you've done you've done close to a half of Tamarack Trail.
And there's many people that would be like you, that would be more completists, and they'd want to do just one trail once and then move on to the next one and do like every one, right? So
well, there's some trails I only want to do once, and
Well,
the
true.
classic one is Horseshoe Basin, which
Huh?
is
the full thing. Yeah,
the full thing.
The full thing wasn't that fun.
Oh,
and
it
we
was-
did it in
was miserable.
autumn. It was the stinging nettle was very tall,
Mhm.
and the
on the north side.
yeah, and it was difficult to find a path because on one long part, because the little aspen trees were everywhere.
Mhm.
So nobody had done that trail for
It's actually marked
years,
on the map.
actually, because the trees took over.
Well, it's actually marked on the map, my topographic map, as indistinct in places in that area.
Well, that's very indistinct because the trees were like everywhere.
And the only other place where they've got that marked is actually on Bellevue Trail. You know where that bear was by that.
Oh yeah, it's kind of indistinct there.
It's
you're right.
indistinct there, and it's marked that way on the map.
Yeah.
But that's not a problem. I mean,
No, you
get
can yeah.
you can see what's happening. But
No, but what I'm saying is not just in Waterton. They just move on to the next park and the next park, and like it, because you could really spend your whole lifetime, I'm sure, just going to all sorts of trails in the Rocky Mountains. Just a
well,
different
you
trail
know,
all
the
time.
funny thing is the Rocky Mountain parks in Alberta, national parks, are almost the same size as the official, according to the United Nations, and that's the legal, but not the moral boundary for Israel. The moral boundary of Israel would be way bigger than it is now, to include all of the West Bank, except for some property that might be set aside for Samaritans.
But we're going to be doing some hiking in some parks that we haven't done since I started doing the blog, posting on the blog, right? So there's a lot of hikes that we've already done elsewhere, like all sorts of places that haven't made it onto the blog site because we've done them before. So we're going to start doing some of those again so that we can feature those. So that'll be fun. But back to the book. I
Yeah,
got
there we go.
distracted.
So Fidel Castro, he actually, I call him Infidel Beaver because he's infidel just means not faithful.
Oh.
Fidel means faithful.
Mm.
And fidelity is faithfulness, right? And, Castro is just Beaver. So,
Well, that's actually a pretty cool name.
yeah, unfaithful Beaver. Oh,
Yeah.
it should be infidel, but
Yeah.
5 minutes?
No, 15.
Well, that's good.
Almost.
Anyway, Castro, so what is it? Castor and Pollux. Castor, it would be I suspect it's Latin for beaver, or maybe it's Greek. Pollux is a Greek name. I think some people say it means destroyer. So those are the two big stars in Gemini.
Well, I don't understand why one would be named Beaver and the other one Destroyer.
I don't know. I've run across another possible derivation for Pollux. I think we don't know. Castor, it's pretty obvious. So, at any rate, so it's not a complimentary mention. And so, what I'd say about this guy is he gets a lot of things right about religion, but he has a problem with fellow atheists. He kind of is he's given up communism, and he's trying to find some way of seeing it as being influenced by religion. Same sort of thing with Nazis. The Nazis' big problem were, according to him, really, is having a concordat, which is like an agreement to disagree, really. It should have been a discordat or something like that instead of a concordat, with the Pope in Rome. You know, he has as much stuff on that as he has on the rest of Hitler. But then he says, oh, well, Hitler was kind of like they were getting involved in Teutonic religion and stuff like. Yeah, they were, but you know, like with the communists, he's really striving for effect when he says Stalin was trained in a seminary, maybe to be a priest or something like that.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, I know. So he has some problems there. Anyway, Catholicism, that's the next sort of thing. He's kind of easy on the Catholics by comparison with the Calvinists. Calvinists have existed for a lot less time than the, for roughly maybe slightly less than 500 years, whereas the Catholic Church has been around, so we're told, for over 2,000 years. That's 4 times as long, and maybe the number of entries is 4 times as long. One of the things is blaming Jews for Jesus' crucifixion. Now,
Jesus was a Jew.
It was a Jew.
That's one thing.
That's one thing. You can't go around blaming them as a nation, stuff like that. But there is a distinction between nations and ethnicity. And Jesus is a classic example. All or most of his disciples are more examples. They were Jews, but they were a different religion. And they got brutalized. So no, I don't believe even in blaming Judaism for it. At some time or another, that kind of blame game's got to stop. But he was talking in here about, I can't remember what group it was, but we should never forget. I'm going, hey, yeah, Christians. If Christians applied that to the wiping out of their leader, then vis-a-vis the Jewish religion, not the ethnicity, they should never forget. Now, I think they should.
Well, forgive. Christianity.
Okay, so forgive and forget. Maybe not forget. But it's the same sort of thing with Germans after World War II. Or at least German nationalists and stuff like that, because a person has to make a distinction between ethnicity and belief. But, people have to kind of forgive those to a large extent. I won't say what I was going to say. But at any rate, child abuse and religion, or Catholicism. And they've been bad. The main problem is they were covering up for a scumbag priest. In other words, they'd move a priest sideways and be covering it up. The priest should have been, when they were involved in any sort of child abuse, not just sexual but physical, they should have been reported to the law. You can't have that sort of stuff. But he does point out, and this I'm afraid is true, that he's being kind of truthful. He says, there are other institutions where abuse goes on. So it's stunning. I have a relative, a generation younger than me, who was taken away from a relative of mine and put into the
Foster
tender care of foster care. Actually, it ended up being the foster parents were good. They actually tracked the parent of this kid down, and then the grandparents and stuff like that. But it was actually when he was in the
protective
home.
custody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was no protection at all. So it involved repeated. I don't know if it's repeated, but at least one case of anal rape, but gang anal rape. Fun times, eh? Under the care of the province of Alberta. Way to go, province of Alberta. Anyway, and he was being taken away from a situation that was interpreted as neglect. So his dad was out earning money, couldn't afford enough money to pay for a babysitter, so he's leaving the kid alone when the kid was under 12 years old. Ooh, that's really bad. That's worse than gang anal rape, eh? No, okay. Just in case you don't understand it's not even irony. It's just sarcasm. There we go. It's cheap sarcasm, but that's all the province of Alberta deserves on that issue.
Yep.
So yeah, he has a lot about pedophilia and the miracles amongst Catholics. He has a lot to say about Mother Teresa, and like I used to think, oh yeah, I didn't know much about her. So this is in the 80s when stuff was building up to her. I think she was beatified. Is she a saint now? Did they call her Saint Teresa?
I think so.
She'd be
I'm
a second
sure.
because I think there's Saint Teresa of Avila or Avila. But at any rate, he doesn't. Christopher Hitchens doesn't like Mother Teresa that much. There are miracles involved with some of the stuff, I guess. I never heard about those, but I can remember in the 80s, first time I really heard about her was there was a follower of Rajneesh. Is it Rajneesh? Yeah, so Rajneesh figures in here too. Rajneesh was a kind of guy who was taking advantage of his followers, so he's kind of like a guru. And I think he owned, the story goes, at least according to here, the world's biggest collection of something like Cadillacs or Bentleys or Rolls Royces. Biggest collection in the world, compliments of his followers. But he moved to a place, I believe it was Oregon, and they wanted to take control of the town. So when the elections came up, they were involved in food poisoning, mild food poisoning, but still, it's biological warfare. So they could win the vote, and I guess get either Rajneesh or a representative of his scummy little religion elected. But I ran across in a bookstore actually a follower of Rajneesh, and this is up in Calgary, and he was saying, Rajneesh calls now Mother Teresa because she's going around pretending to care about poor people in India, and yet she's against birth control. I'm going, that's a point. That's a point. I have a hard time taking someone like that seriously when they're going around. How fast is India's population growing? Just checking it last night. Like in 2004, maybe even more recent than that, maybe 2007. Anyway, after 9/11, 20 years ago or less, you know what the population of India was? We're going to say a billion, but it's actually something like 960 million. You know what it is now? It's 1.4 million getting up to 1.5 million. Billion, I should say. So it's gone up 500 million in 20 years. That's a 50% increase. Another 20 years, it's going to be, if it keeps on at that rate, 750,000 on top of that. So it'd be 2 billion, 2 billion, 2.25 billion. Huh? What are you going to do with that? What do you do with that? Like, that's like 500 million in 20 years. Divide that in half, that's 250 million in 10 years, and that's 25 million in a year. 25 million in a year. So you got some idiots in Canada saying, oh, we should be up to 100 100 million. We got 40 million in Canada, 60 million. Well, that in 3 years of population increase just with India, that would be more. Take us in Canada if we took all that excess population, that would take us over the 100. That would take us 115 million. That's just 3 years of population increase. That's ridiculous. You guys are going around saying, Canada's got plenty of room. Let's take them all. You know, like if Canada took the world's increase per year, they couldn't even take a year's worth of it. They'd take 8 months, and then Canada would be up to 100 million people. Okay? Okay? Okay, folks? I know some of you are sensible out there, but you stupid people that are thinking Canada can sop up the world's excess population, you are in La La Land. Go and start a colony in Mars and take the world's excess population with you, please. Anyway, so he doesn't have much good to say about Catholicism. Let me see. Whittaker Chambers. Oh, he doesn't like Whittaker Chambers. He's making fun. You see, Whittaker Chambers was a fellow commie. Of course, basically before Hitchens was born. Whittaker Chambers, well, kind of, the way it's seen, is collaborated with Richard Nixon in getting Alger Hiss, a government functionary in the United States, who was a commie as far as I can tell. You know, there's this idea, they were hiding messages in pumpkins, you know, or in a pumpkin patch or something like that. Oh, yeah, that's what spies do. I'm sorry. They have little drop-off points. They don't here's a mailbox and paint it all red if they're commies, you know, put a hammer and sickle on the side. They put it in places where people don't expect. Whittaker Chambers was a communist. Alger Hiss was a communist. I don't think he was killed. He committed treason. He's a horrible idiot. So was Whittaker Chambers. And then, you know, what Christopher Hitchens doesn't like about him was he converted to Christianity. Became maybe a bit of a fundamentalist or something like that. Whittaker Chambers had some interesting things to say about Islam. He was saying, as Bertrand Russell did, that it's like communism. And he's right. It might be worse, actually. And when I say it's worse than communism, that there's only one thing lower, and that's Nazism, German Nazism. And maybe Saddam Hussein, which is a mixture of Nazism and communism. It's just Arab Nazism. And just because he was a person of color and his fellow Arab Nazis are people of color doesn't make that any better. I'm sorry, folks. Let me see. China. Totalitarianism. He's got so little on China, it's stunning. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. You know, that's unacceptable. He's got to talk more about China. I'm sorry. A ghost of Christopher Hitchens. You really blew it on that one. Lots about Christianity, child abuse, conversion of Jews and Muslims. You know, conversion of Jews, that's a problem, because Jews really aren't a proselytizing religion. Conversion of Muslims. Muslims have done way more converting, especially by the sword, than Christians have. I'm sorry, folks, if that doesn't conform with your belief system, but your belief system is all out of whack if you don't recognize that. You guys are nuts if you think Muslims have converted generally